My father lifted his glass, smile sharp as a blade. "Tonight," he said, voice loud enough to echo off the chandelier, "we've decided to cut you out of the inheritance. You've never deserved it." Everyone laughed. My cousins, my uncles, even my mother, her pearls trembling on her throat as she tried to look away. I smiled, took a slow sip of wine, and said nothing. That was my first victory. Silence. My family has always believed that control was a birthright. My father, the patriarch. My mother, his quiet enforcer. Growing up, I was the shadow child, obedient, invisible, useful when they needed a name to sign something or take blame. They built empires off manipulation, off people, including me. I remember the first time I realized what they were. I was 12. My father made me apologize to a man he'd cheated out of a deal. Said, "Take the fall, son, it builds character." That day I learned something he never intended to teach me, how to look guilty without being guilty. It's a skill that would save me years later. The inheritance dinner wasn't about money, it was about humiliation. My father had always loved a stage, and that night, I was his favorite act. He announced it casually between courses. "We've revised the will. Everything now goes to your brother. You've always been more of a disappointment than an investment." The room erupted in polite laughter. My brother smirked like he'd just won a war. I raised my glass to him and said softly, "Congratulations." Then I left before dessert. They thought I was broken. I was just getting started. That night, I replayed every word, every glance, every smug smile. I didn't feel anger. I felt precision forming. Because what they didn't know was that for the past 3 years, I'd been preparing for their downfall. They thought cutting me off would destroy me. They didn't realize I'd already built my own empire, using their name. Quietly, legally, strategically. It began when I started working at my father's company after college. He gave me meaningless tasks, paperwork, digital filing, auditing. He forgot that the son he ignored was watching, listening, learning. I saw the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the bribes. He used fake consultants, names he made up, to move money overseas. So I created one more consultant, a digital ghost named Harold Lentz. Through Harold, I documented every illegal transfer, every manipulated account, every tax evasion. I didn't touch the money, I just left breadcrumbs, enough to make it look like Harold had access to everything. Then I waited. 2 days after the dinner, I sent an anonymous email to the Financial Crimes Unit. Subject, irregularities in the Granson Holdings accounts. Attachments, years of transactions, internal memos, proof of money laundering. It took them less than 48 hours to freeze everything. By then, my father was in London finalizing a property deal. He woke up to find his accounts locked, his passport flagged, and the story plastered across financial news. Granson Holdings under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. My brother called me that morning. "They think you did it," he yelled. I smiled into the phone. "Why would I? I've been cut out, remember?" He hung up. The investigation spread fast. Investors pulled out. Our family name, the one they used like currency, collapsed overnight. And my mother? She called 3 days later, voice trembling for the first time in my life. "They're saying your father might face charges. They think someone inside?" I repeated softly. "Yes, someone who knew everything." "Sounds like bad luck," I said. "But don't worry, you still have your favorite son." Click. They searched for Harold Lentz for weeks. Of course, they never found him. He didn't exist, except on paper, in metadata, in the quiet corners of the digital world I'd built from their arrogance. By the time the investigators realized Harold was smoke, the evidence had already done its work. My father was discredited. My brother was exposed for insider trading. My mother's accounts frozen for review. The empire turned to dust. I returned home one last time. The mansion was half empty. Furniture gone, staff dismissed. My father sat by the window, staring at the headlines. "You did this," he said quietly. "No," I said, pouring myself a drink. "You did this. I just documented it." He tried to stand, but age and shame had weight. "You ruined us." I looked around the room, the marble floors, the oil paintings, the ghosts of dinners past. "No, Father. You ruined me first." I placed my glass on the table and left. Same way I did that night. Only this time, the silence was victory. A week later, the company assets were auctioned. I bought one item, an old fountain pen engraved with his initials. I keep it on my desk now, a reminder. Not of what I lost, but of what I learned. People think revenge is fire. It's not.